right the wrong that was done to the mortals of Belleran, for how does one live consciously under the shadow and surety of death? What twisted deity had made it so? It was not personal. It was a dying man's wish to deal justice, one last time. His lips spread and his rotten teeth felt the cold air. They hurt. He wanted to yell a battle cry, but all that came out was another keening wail. His last sight was of an angel that bore down on him, its face impossibly beautiful, blade glinting pure and bright as it swooped towards him. He hated it, because in those eyes of deep emerald there was pity. Pity for a rotting fool who had dared challenge the cruelty of nature. He fleetingly wondered if there was a paradise waiting for him somewhere, so that he could live again, so that all the moments of his life would not be forgotten, not that he really cared any more. The cold blade sliced through him. There was no pain, only hatred and relief. "Ramien!" shouted Fel'annár, or the whirling warrior to those that knew him well. Bringing his long blade around, he turned to face his second deviant, stabbing it in the eye. Then he flipped backwards and pivoted on his heels so that his back found the chest of another. He stabbed, feeling the body slacken behind him, and then slumped to the side. "Watch your flank!" he yelled over the din of the skirmish, even as he stuffed both swords into his harness and drew his bow, firing at a deviant that was closing fast on their Alpine lieutenant, Galadan. Ramien, known as the Wall of Stone to his friends, was the largest elven warrior anyone had surely ever seen, and yet he moved with unsuspected agility, dodging to the side at Fel'annár's shouted warning. Lashing out with a fist, he brought his battle-axe around, slicing through the neck of a deviant that snarled defiantly back at him, a snarl that became a bubbling gurgle as thick black blood gushed from the gaping wound. Beside him, Idernon, the wise warrior, blocked a scimitar that threatened to lop his head off, and then ducked under a second weapon that skimmed over his crown of auburn hair. Bringing his sword around and up, he swung downwards, cutting cleanly through a fetid arm. His agile mind wondered if it would be enough or whether he should slit its throat. He opted for the latter and then cast his eyes around him. Carodel, the bard warrior, had just finished off his last opponent, and he stood now shaking his arm with a gasp of utter disgust, eyes fixed on the strange green gunge that had splashed onto his sword hand. "Victory!" shouted Galadan from further away, his voice carrying powerfully around the glade, and the troop cheered as they gave swift death to the last of the deviants that had dared attack the royal caravan of Handir, second prince of Euade. "Clean up!" shouted Galadan, and the warriors set to piling up the bodies, hideous carcasses of mortals cursed for daring to defy their own inevitable death. Their flesh was already rotting away, even though they had only just been granted death. The affliction was a cruel one, thought Galadan, but so too was the very idea of mortality. Ramien slapped his friend on the shoulder as he passed, silent thanks for the life-saving warning. But Fel'annár could not return the gesture, for he was dragging a gigantic deviant over the ground, gritting his teeth, eyes stinging at the pungent odor as the soles of his boots dug into the ground for leverage. "Hurry up!" shouted Galadan. "Regroup in 10 minutes." The small group of warriors under Lieutenant Galadan's command had broken off from Prince Handir's 50-strong escort, so that he and his civilian attendants might be spared the grotesque faces and unnerving wails of the deviants. It had been a small group, and the warriors of Euade had neutralized the threat easily enough. Indeed, Commander General Panassar had not deemed his own presence necessary and had instead delegated command to his Alpine lieutenant, Galadan, who stood now before the gruesome pile of bodies. He should have felt pity, but he did not, and his eyes strayed to the trees nearby, calculating their distance. Once satisfied they would not be burnt, he set light to the stinking mound. There were no prayers, no pity, only the